Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Grom the Paunch in Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. This is more of a short campaign as opposed to a world building empire type campaign, though that is also available if you do play your cards right, because there are certain tools to ensure that Grom does dominate the world from a military perspective, territory perspective, hell, even diplomatically. You actually do have quite a good amount of options. For instance, over here I have a defensive alliance with the Fey Enchantress. Orion isn't particularly happy with that, but then again, screw Orion. Simple as that. There is an enormous amount of power in this particular campaign, but there are also going to be downsides. In this respect, it could be considered a really good campaign because it does force you to make certain decisions that, well, just plain simply, you would not be forced to make these kind of decisions in any other campaign or in the vast majority of campaigns. Just like A Leaf on R is a great campaign for the High Elves because of all the enemies you have around you, but also having the tools to deal with them, so is Grom's campaign quite amazing, at least in the short term, though it also does have some long-term potential if you do play your cards right. So let's start with Grom. Grom's faction effects is that he gets access to Grom's Cauldron. He has a -80 diplomatic relation with the High Elves, so diplomacy with the High Elves is not doable. And he gets a global recruitment duration of -1 turn for Goblin units. That is just the beginning, however, because when you look at him, he gets leadership against elves, physical resistance for goblins, Grom's Wa, and other benefits as well. His WAs also can contain things like trolls, so don't underestimate the sheer power that this guy does have, because basic goblin archers are fairly solid, and the fact that you can get trolls for WAs does grant you a substantial amount of power as well in this particular campaign, assuming I can find, yep, this one. So you can get stone trolls, you can get river trolls, you do start with a hero that gives you casualty replenishment. That is fairly powerful. And then you have his Cauldron. While it would be great for me to have unlocked multiple slots here, I think the Hag is just a bit bugged at the moment. The reality is, this is absurd. You get things like control in all provinces and global recruitment duration -1 for all units. The fact that you start with goblins, being able to recruit goblins globally in one turn is significantly powerful, because it means you start with the massive oracle. It means you can move from settlement to settlement to settlement and keep recruiting higher tier units, at least goblin ones. And when you do get access to a goldfish, you can global recruit the vast majority of units in your roster very, very quickly. You do need to sack an Imperial settlement over here, so I did pick a fight with Karl Franz in this particular campaign, and then beat the crap out of him, or rather some of his armies, and then got the peace agreement. That's kind of the thing you're going to do as Grom. You're not necessarily going to be interested in holding a lot of territory near you, but there is substantial benefits, like for instance sacking a Dwarven settlement can give you some recruitment cost benefits for trolls, recruiting an Ragnarok, all those kind of things. Ridiculous level of power in this particular campaign. Get a Wa on a High Elf, get a Wa on Tyrion, of all things. Obliterate Tyrion, and then get, well, ridiculously powerful ammunition. Or win a battle against any army containing dragons, wyvern, or frostworm, including mounts. Oh yeah, you can wait for the High Elves to start getting dragon mounts. That's probably unlikely, honestly, but you just need to win a battle of that type of nature and getting explosive ammunition or Phoenix Fire. Oh yeah, there's just so much power in this Cauldron. You can mix and match various effects and just get a ridiculous benefit. And also you get benefits for Grom himself. He also gets abilities himself as a result of this Cauldron, because, well, he's eating what you're producing ultimately. So that is the ridiculous nonsense of Grom. And you are in this kind of situation where you can really excel in this campaign diplomatically, as I stated. So for instance over here, you might... so for instance over here with her, I've managed to get that defensive alliance by declaring war on Paravon before Orion could get there and taking Quenelle. I ended up in a war with Orion because he was besieging Paravon. So I was like, yeah, I'm not letting you have that, suffice to say. Now, an interesting thing about the greenskins that I wish to mention over here, because specifically with Bordello, because Bordello starts as a higher tier settlement, greenskins have a chance when you occupy or loot and occupy a settlement to take it at the same level that it's at. And if you're playing on a lower difficulty, if you're not playing necessarily on legendary, or you're using a mod that removes the autosave, one of the things you could do is abuse it. So every time you show up to a settlement, instead of sacking it, though you will want to sack it because a lot of these benefits will come from sacking settlements. So you'll want to sack the first settlement, Aquitaine, and then you might want to loot and occupy or just occupy Bordello and get it at the same level. This would give you the ability of getting a tier 2 barracks relatively quickly in your campaign, which would unlock the really powerful, nasty skulkers. And after that, after you take the river over here, well, you might want to start building a second army very, very quickly over here in Massive Oracle to take Guanel, sell that, take the settlement, and then try and take Paravon with that second army, because the army over here from Paravon is going to start moving towards you, thinking that they stand a chance. Reality, they don't, because remember, you can global recruit units very quickly. Between local recruitment and global recruitment, a full stack of Goblin archers will defeat many armies from minor factions, certainly settlement garrisons. While Paravon is certainly a tough nut to crack, seeing as it is a tier 3 settlement from the very beginning, you don't necessarily need to take it by storm. You can just put it under siege, army tries and marches out, and you obliterate it. Ridiculous level of power as a result of that. And, quite crucially, and something that many campaigns outside of High Elves, Dark Elves don't have, quite very crucially in this campaign, one of the climates that's ideal for you is Temperate Island. So that means you can conquer all of Wolf 1. Now, Wolf 1 is an absurd place. The economic potential of this place is incredible. Lots of resources, lots of money to be gained, assuming you can actually occupy it. The Gaian Vale is a bit of a downside with it being a magical forest, but here's the thing about Grom and climate. Well, while climate can be an issue, and it still is an issue in this campaign, you get such ridiculous benefits, they may not necessarily matter. You get A control in all provinces. You can only maintain one color type, so even with all 4 slots, you won't be able to get everything, but you can get things like research rate, you can get things like the things that you'll start with are going to be green spores for growth and earning reputation. Also printing money, like you might just be doing this over and over again, just using ocean clams and green spores again and again and again and again. And with that, getting money, getting reputation, and as a result of that, being able to get your Wa very quickly. And once you get the Wa, well, a bunch of Goblin archers with some, Goblins and Orc boys as meat shields from the Wa army, that is a really powerful army to throw against pretty much anyone, really. And that's how you end up dominating against the factions. You could, if you want to, though I would say you shouldn't go for it as quickly as you possibly can, but one of the things you could do is show up over here in High Elf territory in Northern Nevres, and if you time it correctly, Elfarion might have just taken this particular settlement, which would be ideal because it means you can take Torevres. By the time he gets back, you have already taken his capital. He's going to be in a pretty bad position as a result of that, and then deal with Elfarion, who doesn't just have this -80 diplomatic relations. No, he has a lot more than that in his campaign. So you end up in, like, the only foes you absolutely have to fight beyond the fact, well, you have a significant amount of aversion with everyone. And one of the things to point out, getting faction strength rank 1 seems great. The problem is because a lot of people hate the greenskins to begin with, and because of the fact that, factions are terrified of very powerful factions, you might end up in a situation where a lot of factions declare war on you. Also, Greenskin Autoresolve is not necessarily the best, so just be a bit mindful. But here's the secret sauce, if you will, of Grom's campaign situation. Because you could just play a campaign in Wolf 1, but interesting choice. One of the problems Grom has is that outside of Wolf 1, he doesn't have a lot of terrain until he gets to the Badlands. Well, you can't really go to the Badlands that quickly, so your campaign ends up being limited. But, and this is the secret, Belegar starts at war with the Crooked Moon mutinous Gits. And one of the things you can do, and it might go your way, it might not go your way, but one of the things you can absolutely do in this particular campaign is declare war on them through Belegar, through diplomacy. They are already at war with Queek, so Queek is gonna absolutely destroy them. There's almost no campaign I've seen that they don't end up losing to either Queek or even Skarsnik potentially early on. So if Skarsnik brushes Caracade Peaks, I've seen him do it, you might not get it. But the possibility exists in this campaign that you might just declare war on them. As they start losing, you get the peace agreement. You may not you shouldn't necessarily declare war on any of their enemies, but they might actually end up in a situation where they are willing to confederate with you. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that necessarily worked. I didn't declare war on Queek in this campaign, or Belegar or anything like that, to get that confederation going. I just declared war, got a peace deal, and a couple of turns later they were willing to confederate because, well, the Queek was about to absolutely destroy them. And if you can do this, and yes, it is RNG, but if you can do this, like, Grom is already ridiculous enough. Like, I've played campaigns as him, and I fought everyone around him, including the entirety of Laurent, including the entirety of Bretonnia, and the entirety of the Empire, or the Imperial factions from Marienburg and Karl Franz, and won. That's the ridiculousness of this campaign. And that's what's fun. Like, you are going to, you know, trade settlements again and again. You're going to have to make decisions. It's not just a linear path of a campaign where you can just do whatever the hell, you just go down one particular path. You can do whatever the hell you want, actually, in this campaign, but it does force you to make certain decisions. And you might be running out of money, but here's the thing. You can print money, and, well, you see how much money I have over here at turn 21. Understand, I have this much money on turn 21 despite losing 5,000-6,000 per turn or more. I have 4 armies. No, I'm sorry, I'm downplaying it over here. I have 5 armies in this situation, recruiting a 6th army in Ulf 1. Then I got the 7th. Now, this is not necessarily the most absurd situation, but keep in mind what is absurd, because this is pretty exceptional. The armies I have, yeah, there's a bunch of nasty skulkers and goblin archers in them. However, that's not all. There's trolls, there's biggins, like I've got the Night Goblin, Biggin, or Black Orc Big Boss army right here. I'm going to replace the Squig Herds, just not too fond of those. Of course, the RNG factor is certainly going to come play a role in all of this, but the absurdity of the campaign is quite very, very significant. And if you get lucky, admittedly, with Caracade Peaks, you gotta get a bit lucky. It's not something you can control. But if you play those cards right, if you do handle things, like, the key here is to get very strong, but also not lose too many units in the individual battles. So you might have to fight a bunch of battles manually, or use Autoresolve mods if that's something you're willing to do. But by default in vanilla, you would probably have to fight a lot of manual battles in this particular campaign. And my advice, don't fight a war with the Fey Enchantress, because it's not... You can use her as a buffer so you don't have to fight Athaloran as quickly as possible. It's not like you can't defeat Athaloran. Like, Orion already lost 2 stacks against me. He's going to lose another one over here if he attacks this particular settlement. Like, the experience that my units here have, it's like, okay, yeah, attack a bunch of silver rank goblin archers with a bunch of the upgrades the greenskins have. Good luck with that, I'm gonna say that. Good luck to Orion in that particular situation. The real downside is climate and the fact Massive Oracle starts as a tier 1 settlement. If it started as a tier 2 settlement, it would be a better start, because right now it's just like the best thing you can do is just like play the RNG game with Bordello to get that campaign start. Now, it's an interesting campaign because you can either rush Wolf 1 very quickly and play the game against Elfarian and end up winning, or you can take your time, build up an empire over here in Bretonnia, and then attack Wolf 1. Some of the annoying things are, of course, unlocking various things in the Cauldron, and as well as various objectives like sacking 10 different settlements. Well, you might want to loot and occupy a lot of settlements, or unlocking all cooking recipes, or all these kind of things. There is certainly an absurd level of power in this campaign that you just don't have in other campaigns. Like, it's turn 21, and I've completed my short campaign victory condition. I'm almost halfway there to complete my long campaign victory condition. That is crazy. Like, by every standard of this game, that is crazy. It's not exceptional in a Greenskin campaign to do it, because you look at Grimgor, you think Grom is crazy? No, Grimgor is even crazier. But it's just like you're, unlike Grimgor, you're doing this in unpleasant climate in Bretonnia over here. And surrounded by factions that want to kill you. But you have such a level of power, Grom, that it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, oh, Alariel is going to take Port Ellis, or whatever am I going to do about that? Well, I'm just going to cancel construction, and when Alariel's army does show up, well, I'm just going to take the settlement. Grom is going to march on the Ganvel with this army, and then we're going to smash Illyrian and all the gates and complete the objective we have to complete. And yeah, absurdity 101 as the Greenskins. And then Nakari is already dead. Yeah, you know, Nakari is, it's kind of an interesting situation to think about Grom. See, there's already plenty of fights happening in Ulfa, like Alfarian starting a war with Greenskins, Nakari starting a war with Krace, Alariel, all that. And the reason I was able to take out Nakari very quickly here is Nakari ended up losing a significant number of troops against Krace, of all people. Yeah, it's kind of weird with that AI behavior. Like, sometimes Nakari takes Krace, like Alicia specifically, like Nakari's weird about it. Sometimes Nakari leaves Alicia for a long time and then ends up losing a lot of units trying to take it, because that literally happened and you take advantage of that. Or other times it might not go that particular way, but sometimes the Scourge of Cain and Nakari fight and it's like, great, I can show up over here. Like, I have a peace agreement with the Scourge of Cain because I just kind of want them to pick up the Sword of Cain, and then it's like Grom with the Sword of Cain. Yes, we're gonna go for it. I mean, everyone hates you anyway, so who gives a shit about the diplomacy downside? And it's like, control downside? It's like, my dude, I got 8 control faction-wide that I'm gonna put up all the time. It's like, who cares? And you can cycle through these recipes. Like, every turn you can use another recipe. So if one turn you're gonna fight a particular enemy, you can just pop down a recipe with scrap and just hard counter that army. Behind the sheer power of the Greenskins, the Wa of the Greenskins, you can just like pop down a recipe and just get a ridiculous level of power. Like, let's say you might want to get, you know, Hollow Bone, anti-large ammunition, or Eagle Sight, anti-infantry ammunition if you're dealing with a lot of the High Elves, or get ammunition to get Harpy's Teeth, increased number of projectiles, just to hard counter certain opponents. And combine that, like, let's say I'm going to be dealing with some High Elves. You might want to get regeneration, just get these abilities. And you get Sundering attacks for Grom as well. That's one of the things that is available in this campaign. So you get Empire-wide benefits, you get army benefits, faction-wide. It's absurd. And you can customize your faction benefits, which makes for a very interesting and dynamic campaign. The territorial limitations are certainly annoying, I won't deny that, but the possibilities that open up in this campaign from the very beginning are absurd. Fun fact, you might want to sack a Norscan settlement, but there's no Norscans close to you. Well, one of the things is Kotik. You know, just take their capital, wait for Be'lakor to show up over here, or his vassal, ideally his vassal, to take the settlement, because that will usually happen, or he'll give it to his vassal. Or rather, he won't, but his vassal will show up and take the settlement, then declare war on Be'lakor, and destroy his vassal, and then destroy him. Yeah, you got 40 units per army, or if you're ever in a bad situation, again, you can hard counter your opponents in every way that counts. This is a really fun campaign. More short-term, though. There's some long-term potential if you do take Caracay Peaks through diplomacy, which is something no one else can do, I might add. Well, maybe Grimgor, maybe Azag, you know, for Skarsnik. But it's like, Grimgor doesn't start his campaign so close to Belagar that you can actually just, or to Skarsnik, that you can just get that vision. Azag could do it, I imagine. Obviously Skarsnik can do it, but screw Skarsnik. By the way, fun fact about that, you actually defeat Skarsnik in this particular campaign. Where is that? So you defeat Skarsnik in your quest battle, so you get an ambush defense chance and success chance in this campaign. Yeah, imagine Grom setting up an ambush against Tyrion, which does work because higher ambush success chance, and you won't be ambushed by enemies. So if you're dealing with Wood Elves or Grom, and you deal with the quest battle, it's like, good luck to the Wood Elves ambushing you. And honestly, even if they do, it would take a significant number of troops. Wood Elves really don't recruit a lot of good units in their campaigns. That's the problem, by the way, with Wood Elf armies. They'll throw one army against you, which is many times not enough, but they won't send a really good army. Like, if Orion was sending, you know, Deepwood Scouts and Glade Guard just en masse against me, that would be one thing. He doesn't send that. He sends melee units for whatever reasons. He sends cavalry, which... Yeah, and the thing about Nasty Skulkers, they hard counter cavalry in a lot of ways because they have an ability that stops them dead in their tracks, and it's like, yeah, good luck with the Bretonnian Knights in that situation. They kind of counter ranged infantry because they have Vanguard deployment to stock, so they can get in very, very close, and they'll absolutely destroy the melee. And infantry units, it's like, these guys can fight Warriors of Chaos from the beginning of the campaign, and you can vastly improve them. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Costine signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications. Stay tuned for more.